If you thought Diddy was about to come home, think again, because he has just been hit with another lawsuit, and now some of the allegations being made against him are worse than anything that we have heard so far, and it all is up in the air whether or not he is actually going to potentially just get arrested again as soon as he gets out of jail. So this is the latest, okay? Apparently he is facing a diabolical lawsuit from a child star. And
have you ever noticed how the biggest stories are never the ones people see coming? One moment, everything appears untouchable. The image is polished. The reputation is protected. The money is flowing. The influence seems endless. Then suddenly, a single headline changes everything. Because sometimes, all it takes is one new case.
Child actor who accuses Diddy of... I thought he was having crazy freak-offs on some freaky cucked out stuff, but now he might be on... Allegedly, he might be on some Michael Jackson stuff with the young'uns, with the young boys. It's crazy.
A former child actor has accused Sean Diddy Combs of him back in 2007 at a networking event in the Hollywood Hills. Now, Sean Combs denies this, but let me walk you through the allegations. This former child actor says that they met Sean Combs at this networking event, and he started making small talk with him, telling him that he had some projects in mind for him. That's when, according to the lawsuit filed this week in Los Angeles, that Sean Combs took this actor into a back room, and that is where he says that he him. Now, we don't know who this former child star was. They have filed this lawsuit anonymously under a pseudonym, just saying that they were under the age of 18 at the time. Now, I want to read you part of the lawsuit, but I do want to warn you that the details are graphic. Quote, defendant Combs pulled down plaintiff's pants and began to all while Combs was simultaneously, the lawsuit states, quote, defendant Combs then performed while continuing to. Now, a spokesperson for Combs has denied these allegations, telling me in a statement, quote, this complaint describes events that allegedly occurred nearly 20 years ago and is based solely on the plaintiff's account. Their statement goes on to say, quote, we are confident that the facts will demonstrate these claims are without merit. Now, this lawsuit is the latest of mounting legal troubles against Combs. As you all know, Combs is currently incarcerated on the East Coast, serving more than a 4-year sentence. He is appealing that conviction, but just last week I confirmed with the Los Angeles District Attorney's Office that they are reviewing a case against Combs. What does that mean? Well, that means that Combs could potentially be facing charges in Los Angeles. That, along with this lawsuit and dozens more.
Diddy got a weird case. Why is he around? Okay, certified bad boy, certified. Okay, so here's the thing. We don't know if this case that he's potentially facing in Los Angeles is actually the same case as this civil case that's been filed against him. It could be the same situation, could be a completely different one, but apparently it's been confirmed that prosecutors are looking to hit him with new charges in Los Angeles. So this all came out the same month that got announced, and this is a TMZ article about how Diddy may be facing another trial in Los Angeles, which the district attorney is currently reviewing these claims. So it says Sean Diddy Combs is facing a new DA probe, potentially new criminal charges, and it's all tied to an LA SUL battery claim made against the mogul. The case involves publicist Jonathan Hay. So it sounds like a different case. Who filed a police report saying that Diddy SULly battered him in 2020 and again in 2021. Detectives have presented their finding to the LA County District Attorney, and it's now under review, according to the DA spokesperson. Okay, that's him. That's the Vic. It says Hay filed the report in his hometown of Largo, Florida, but it later got transferred to the authorities in LA, where Diddy allegedly committed the crimes. In the report, Hay said he was working on Biggie Smalls' remix. He was working on a Notorious B.I.G. remix with Biggie's son, CJ Wallace, and said that Diddy would show up at times while they were there working. Diddy, of course, was Biggie's longtime friend, mentor, and producer, who made him a huge star before Biggie's LA murder in 1997. So it says, in September 2020, Hay claims that he ended up in a room with Diddy, who started whacking off into one of Biggie's shirts before telling Hay to come finish in a... Well, I don't... You know what he's talking about. Hay claims Diddy took the shirt he'd finished in and threw it at him, and then in...
And according to explosive new allegations making waves behind closed doors, another horrifying chapter may have just opened in one of the entertainment world's most disturbing ongoing sagas. Now, before anyone jumps to conclusions, it's important to remember that allegations remain allegations until proven in a court of law. But what has people talking isn't just the existence of another case. It's the nature of the accusations being described and the disturbing pattern many claim they're beginning to recognize. For years, the public has been fascinated by stories involving powerful individuals operating behind the scenes of glamorous industries. The bright lights, luxury lifestyles, private gatherings, and carefully crafted public images have always created an illusion of perfection. But history has repeatedly shown that image and reality don't always align. And now, according to this newly emerging situation, questions are once again being raised about what may have been happening behind closed doors while millions of fans only saw the carefully managed version presented.
March 2021, Hay claims he flew to LA to continue his project with CJ, but again ended up with Diddy inside a room, and Hay alleges that Diddy called him a snitch and forced his ding-dong into Hay's mouth. It says, we're told LAPD detectives investigated for several months and recently submitted the case to the DA, who will determine if there's enough evidence to charge Diddy. It says in 2025, he was convicted in federal court for violating the Mann Act by transporting people across state lines for the purposes of S. I thought it had to be S workers, but the way they phrased that. Transporting people across state lines for the purposes, that's crazy. While he was acquitted of S trafficking and racketeering charges, he is serving a 50-month sentence in federal prison. We reached out to Diddy's camp, but so far no word back. So, all right, I'm going to read you most of the relevant paperwork from the new civil case, which was from the child actor. So obviously he's potentially facing charges on this, but also the situation with the child actor. So I've got the most relevant parts of that case here, and I'm going to read it to you in full so you can get a full understanding of what's going on with this. All right, let me just get this all crispy and nice for you guys right here. Yes, lovely. So this is the plaintiff, John Y.H. Rowe, which I believe they've said is a pseudonym. So this isn't actually the person's name. It's John. He's a John Doe. Or in this case, I guess it's a John Rowe, John Y.H. Rowe, rather than John Doe or whatever. He's keeping his identity secret, which is actually crazy. I mean, I'm all for protecting victims and their identities, but at the same time, like, bro, you can really just say somebody is out here diddling kids and just not even put your face, not even stand on it with your name in your chest. Like, that is a little bit spooky. But anyway, let's hear the claims, okay? Says he's got causes for action against Diddy, Combs, Lang, Talon, Amsel, Eisenstadt, Fraser, A-Talent, Literary Agency, DeAndre Lang, and does 1 through 100. Hereinafter collectively defendants, and each of them complains alleged as followed. So the John Doe says they were a child victim of sexual assault at all times relevant herein, and is entitled to protect their identity in the public filing by not disclosing their name. They're a resident of California, county of Los Angeles. They've been informed and believe that based on the allegations that Diddy is an individual who at all relevant times was a resident of Los Angeles as well. And so the plaintiff is informed he believes defendant Lang Talent is an unknown business entity who at all relevant times was conducting business in LA. They basically say defendant DeAndre Lang is the owner of Lang Talent and lives in LA. Plaintiff is informed that Amsel, Eisenstadt, and Fraser A-Talent Literary Agency is a corporation who is conducting business in LA. So you're all in LA and we running it through LA. So the true names, identities, and capacities, or whether individual, associate, corporate, or otherwise, of defendant does 1 through 100 are unknown to plaintiff, who therefore sues said defendants by such fictitious names. When true names, identities, and capacities of such fictitiously designated defendants are ascertained, plaintiff will ask leave of court to amend the complaint to assert the true names, identities, and capacities together with the properly charging allegations. So I believe what they're suggesting is that actually he doesn't even know the real names. I don't know if he's suggesting that some of these are fake names. Amsel, Eisenstadt, I don't know. Okay, but they're basically suggesting that these could potentially be fake names. And he's basically saying, we're trying to get to the bottom of this and find out what the real names are. I'm trying to find out who did this to me. And, you know, basically, I'm trying to find out who did this to me. And we're going to expose them, name them, and shame them once we get the names. But even the fake names, we run in the lawsuit with the fake names, and then we're going to put the real names in there. So it says plaintiff is informed and believes them thereon alleges that does 1 through 33 entity does were individuals who were acting in concert with defendant
to the public. The details being discussed have left many observers stunned. Not necessarily because people are incapable of imagining terrible behavior. Unfortunately, society has seen enough scandals to understand that influence and status do not automatically equal integrity. What shocks people is something else entirely. It's the possibility that warning signs may have existed long before anyone was paying attention. It's the uncomfortable thought that people may have ignored whispers because speaking out felt impossible. It's the realization that power can create silence. And silence can become protection. According to the allegations currently circulating, this latest case paints an unsettling picture of manipulation, control, and environments where boundaries allegedly became blurred in ways that should never happen. Again, these claims remain allegations. But the conversation surrounding them has become impossible to ignore. Social media exploded almost immediately. Some people expressed outrage. Others demanded patience and due process. Many simply asked the same
Combs. So does 1 through 100, I don't know if that's saying defendants does 1 through 100. Is that they're basically saying that there's 100 people, John Does, like there's 100 people, they're saying entity Does were individuals or entities who control or act in concert with Combs. So they're saying that, I'm pretty sure it's saying 100 people that are unknown to the plaintiff could be getting targeted. And they're saying 1 through 33 were individuals who were all acting in concert with Diddy. Basically saying that all of these people, 33 people, should have helped, and they all facilitated Diddy's abuse, the essay of the plaintiff at the event. So plaintiff is informed and believed thereon alleges Does 34 through 67, the industry Does, they were representatives of the industries, event promoters, chaperones, and others who recruited the victim to the subject event, approved his attendance, and failed to protect him there, negligently supervising him or failing to warn him or his guardian about foreseeable danger. So it goes on to say that John Doe's 68 through 100 are persons or entities whose identities are unknown or who are responsible in some manner for the occurrences herein alleged. Plaintiff will amend the complaint to allege their true names and capacities when ascertained. Plaintiff is informed and believes thereon alleges that each of the defendants designated as a Doe is legally responsible in some manner for events and happenings herein alleged, and that such defendants proximately cause plaintiff damages alleged herein. Basically saying there's over 100 people we're saying helped Diddy diddle me. That's what's being said. So anyway, let's get to the facts of the case. Defendant Combs, that's Diddy, is a hip-hop music mogul, a Grammy-awarded musician, rapper, producer, and record exec who rose to prominence in the music and entertainment industry over the decades. Defendant Combs has signed some of the biggest stars in music, including Rick Ross, Machine Gun Kelly, Notorious B.I.G., New Edition, Mace Pitbull, Lil Jon, Fabulous, French Montana, and groups like Danity Kane. Defendant Combs founded Bad Boy Records, and the company has since sold over 500 million records, producing 38 platinum albums and won multiple Grammy Awards. In addition to Defendant Combs being a music mogul, Defendant Combs utilized his talents as a producer outside of the recording booth, working behind the scenes to produce the reality TV series, including Making the Band and Run's House. By featuring himself in the TV series while simultaneously serving as a producer, Diddy, the defendant, further increased his public profile and continued to solidify his position as a powerful figure within the music and entertainment industries. In or around 2004, the plaintiff launched his career as a child actor. They quickly developed a passion for the craft of acting. They immediately began working in the entertainment industry, securing initial roles that provided early professional exposure and experience. After his initial success in these and other high-profile shows, and as plaintiff sought to advance his career and compete for more substantial and higher-profile opportunities, he engaged in professional development efforts, including hiring talent managers, including the defendants Lang Talent and DeAndre Lang, and Amsel, hereinafter collectively referred to as agents. Based on information and belief, the agents knew the industry better than the plaintiff and would help him advance his career. As is common and expected in that entertainment industry, networking played a critical role in promoting plaintiff as an actor in attempts to advance his career and land future opportunities. Accordingly, the agents frequently sent plaintiff invitations to industry gatherings, professional events, and social functions where producers, casting directors, actors, and other industry professionals were present. Through these interactions, plaintiff hoped to build professional relationships, increase his visibility within the industry, and position himself for future projects and larger roles. The agents undertook to represent plaintiff while he was a minor child and to act as his professional representatives, advisors, gatekeepers, and protectors in the entertainment industry, including with respect to industry access, invitations, introductions, networking events, meetings, and opportunities involving adult industry participants. A special relationship existed between the plaintiff and the agent.
Question. If even a fraction of these accusations prove true, how could something like this continue for so long without intervention? It's a question society asks during every major scandal. And yet, the answer is rarely simple. Because powerful people rarely operate alone. There are employees, associates, business partners, security teams, publicists, executives, people whose careers may depend on proximity to influence. Entire systems built around preserving brands worth millions, sometimes billions. When those systems prioritize reputation over accountability, dangerous situations can allegedly remain hidden much longer than anyone expects. Of course, none of this means every accusation automatically represents truth. False allegations exist. Misunderstandings occur. Facts matter. Evidence matters. The legal process matters. But dismissing allegations simply because someone possesses fame or wealth.
He'd been under investigation for months at this point. In a statement to NBC News, Combs' publicist, Judah Engelmeyer, said, quote, "The footage was created for an entirely different purpose under an arrangement that was never completed, and no rights were ever transferred to Netflix. A payment dispute between outside parties does not create permission for Netflix to use unlicensed private material. None of this footage came from Mr. Combs or his team, and its inclusion raises serious questions about how it was obtained and why Netflix chose to use it." Now, Elizabeth, we're going to talk more about what Combs' legal team has to say in this cease and desist letter, but what's your reaction to that?
Yeah, it's hard to say because there's still such a big question mark in the air because, Curtis Jackson, aka 50 Cent, is one of the executive producers on the series. Him, the director, Netflix in general, is not saying where they got this footage, only that it was obtained legally. Diddy's side is saying this is coming from a videographer I hired. I know we'll get into the cease and desist. One of the arguments they make is, this is subject to NDAs or agreements that the videographer had signed with Diddy because he was, employed by Diddy, and therefore the footage belongs to Diddy. That's the argument that they're making. So it's difficult to say because Netflix is not really saying how or where they got this footage from. One of the things that they did say was that it was sent to them legally. So, if you have the videographer sending the footage to them physically, that would be fine, but it does leave a question mark about where the legal rights are coming from. The only really avenue I see is if there's some way that the videographer had obtained a license for the footage, then the videographer would have the ability to take that license and then transfer the footage over to Netflix. But if the footage belongs to Diddy, then that's a little bit tough.
That's a good point. Okay, let's keep that in mind. We'll talk about that in a minute. I do want to talk about the content of the series. So the series featured interviews with many people who were at one point in Combs' inner circle. This includes Aubrey O'Day, who was a member of the girl group Danity Kane, which was created on Combs' MTV show Making the Band. She has since accused Combs of basically grooming her, firing her for refusing to give in to his alleged sexual advances. We have Albie Shore, singer, songwriter, former record executive, dated Kim Porter before she was in a relationship with Combs. There's Roger Bonds, one of Combs' apparent former bodyguards, who's gone on the record to say that he knew Combs was allegedly physically violent with his then-girlfriend, Cassie. At one point in his interview with the documentary's producers, he said of Combs, "When I first met him, I liked him as a person because I didn't know him." You have Kalina Harper, who was part of Combs' group Diddy Dirty Money, released a statement supporting him after the third member of that group, Dawn Richard, had filed a lawsuit against Combs. And in the documentary, Combs can be heard calling Harper to complain about the lawsuit, asking her to put out a statement. A former friend, business partner of Combs, who appears throughout the documentary, is Kirk Burroughs, the co-founder of Bad Boy Records. The two apparently worked very closely together for years. Burroughs served as the general manager, handling the rapidly growing company's funds. And according to Burroughs, when they started Bad Boy, Burroughs was given a 25% stake in the company, with the other 75% being in Combs' mother's name, Janice Combs' name. And we're going to get more into why Burroughs alleges it was set up that way in just a second. But according to Burroughs, Combs allegedly threatened him in 1996 with a baseball bat, forcing him to sign over his stake. So Burroughs apparently sued in 2003. The lawsuit was thrown out because too much time had passed since the alleged incident. And more recently, Burroughs sued Janice Combs for fraud, Combs himself for sexual harassment. This is according to a report from Cinemaholic. And those appear to be ongoing, by the way. Now, Burroughs claims that he was blacklisted from the entertainment industry, led to periods of homelessness. He's since re-entered the music industry, starting Pop Life Entertainment in 2018. This is also
can be equally dangerous. That's why moments like these create such intense public reactions. Because they force uncomfortable discussions about celebrity culture itself. Why do audiences place entertainers on pedestals? Why do people assume success equals virtue? Why are accusations sometimes ignored until they become impossible to avoid? The truth is that society often struggles to separate admiration from accountability. People become emotionally attached to public figures they've never met. Music becomes memories. Movies become comfort. Achievements become inspiration. And when disturbing allegations emerge, Those emotional investments can cloud judgment. Some rush toward immediate condemnation. Others rush toward absolute defense. Both extremes risk overlooking the most important thing: the pursuit of truth. Meanwhile, this latest case continues attracting enormous attention precisely because observers claim it reflects broader concerns that have surfaced repeatedly throughout entertainment history.
Per cinemaholic. So Elizabeth, there's a lot here, but what did you make of the Burroughs part where he was proving, this kind of relationship that he had and that he was coerced into giving up his stake in what would become a multi-million-dollar company? I mean, I guess the allegation is basically that Diddy ruined his life.
Yeah, that was there are a lot of difficult moments in the documentary. I watched all 4 episodes as mentioned, and that was a tough one. And again, information that we hadn't really seen before in prior documentaries. So, this is someone who had co-founded Bad Boy Entertainment with him. A lot of the things he was saying seemed to kind of run along the theme that I think prosecutors were trying to push in the actual case, was that in the prosecutor's view, this is somebody who will do anything to basically get what he wants. He doesn't really care what effects or damage that causes to other people. And it's in different ways, right? Whether it's in the context of alleged abuse, business disputes, alleged sexual assaults, things that have been alleged in the civil lawsuits against him. And I think with Burroughs, it was really, kind of seemed to strike that theme as well, because he's saying, he had forced me out of the stake of my company. He had to deal with things like homelessness, while in the 2000s and 2010s, Diddy was really prospering, music, business, fashion. And one of the things that he had said, what he alleged in the documentary, and again, this is an allegation from him, was that the name Bad Boy Entertainment, Combs's name was not really involved in that on the corporate side. And one of the things he's saying is the reason for that was to avoid having to pay any liability from, the devastating basketball game that had happened in the early 90s, where he was the subject of wrongful death lawsuits because of the multiple deaths that had occurred as a result of that basketball game that Diddy was behind organizing. So that was really, surprising to hear.
Yeah, that was a big allegation, because the families of the victims killed in that stampede, it was horrible. We're talking about December 28th, 1991. Combs, fellow rapper Heavy D, they hosted this charity basketball game. The game took place at the gymnasium of the City College of New York. And according to the New York Daily News, before the basketball game started, people who weren't let inside, they broke a window, swarmed toward the entrance of the gym, all went down a staircase. The doors at the bottom of those stairs opened towards the stairs, not towards the gym. So once a crowd got down there, they couldn't get the doors open and people started being crushed. 9 people died. Dozens of others were injured. And there were no criminal charges that were ever filed against anyone for the stampede, but multiple families and injured victims, they filed lawsuits. And that's just one part, right? So I actually wanted to get into this too. The docuseries devoted a lot of time to the killings of Tupac Shakur and Biggie Smalls, and Combs' alleged connections to this, to both men, obviously knew both of them. So there have been accusations made in the past that Combs' involvement in the East Coast, West Coast rap feud of the 90s, there was more than just talk, that it could have involved things like hit orders. Now, to be clear, these are allegations. There's no evidence to suggest this. This series, though, it emphasizes that he has never been investigated or charged regarding their assassinations. Nevertheless, several interviewees during this documentary expressed that Combs' actions seem suspicious in hindsight. The documentary plays part of an interview that Dwayne Keefe D. Davis did with investigators looking into Tupac's murder, which had become a cold case. And on the tapes, Keefe D. says that Combs agreed to pay him if he killed Tupac and also rival record label head Suge Knight. Now, Davis allegedly admitted that his nephew Orlando Anderson was the one who shot the men, killing Tupac, injuring Knight. But Davis says Combs never came through with any payment. And by the way, Davis is currently awaiting trial for Tupac's murder in Las Vegas. Combs has always denied any involvement in the assassination. That was a big moment, I would say. Elizabeth, that was a big part of this. I didn't know that was going to be a part of this documentary.
I was really surprised as well.
Concerns involving exploitation, fear, imbalance of power, the pressure to remain silent, the belief that challenging influential individuals carries consequences too severe to risk. Whether those concerns ultimately connect to this situation remains for investigators and courts to determine. But the public conversation surrounding them has already begun. And it isn't slowing down. People want answers. They want transparency. They want assurance that status does not place anyone above scrutiny. Because regardless of industry, accountability matters. Not selectively. Universally. If allegations prove false, individuals deserve vindication. If allegations prove true, victims deserve justice. Anything less undermines public trust. What's particularly striking about stories like this is how quickly narratives shift. Yesterday's icon becomes today's controversy. Yesterday's certainty becomes today's uncertainty. Carefully maintained.
First, as far as the daughters go, she broke down immediately when she got up to that podium and started speaking. She said, "We aren't here to excuse his mistakes. We need him in our life. I lost my mom, her mom being Kim Porter, when I was very young. He promised to be there to keep us safe." Then Chance Combs, she had spoke and she said that we're just his daughters, but we do need our father. When we talk, he speaks with a clear mind. He's more patient. He's thoughtful. He wants to be a better man, a better father. He's parented our 2-year-old sister from jail, and I saw glimpses of our father. Our sister deserves a father who's present to teach her how to ride a bike, to tuck her in at night before she goes to sleep, something that any kid would want. And then the final child who spoke on behalf of the family was Delilah Combs, and she said that we're scared of the thought of not having our mom and our dad in our life. She says that these are the years that we'll never get back. I know that much of the missing years hurt because we have lost our mom. We already lost so much. Please, Your Honor, give our family the chance to heal together, not as a headline, but we're trying to do better. And so I think from just like a human perspective, it was very emotional. I mean, you couldn't help but feel for the children, especially his daughters, because some of his children have lost both parents. But, I was wondering, would their impact statement have any sway on the judge, who I believe that had already made up his mind going into sentencing? And so it was interesting just to hear just the emotional impact of what they've been through before Sean Combs was ultimately sentenced.
I think it did. I think it did have an impact on him. He mentioned something about the children later on. Again, we'll get to that. We're teasing it up because it was significant what the judge said. The judge would end up referencing not only Sean Combs, but the children and the victims too. We'll get to that. All of this was coupled by something I don't think I've seen in a sentencing. There was a video, an 11-minute video that was created by the defense that was played in court. What exactly was this video?
Well, this video, to me, Jesse, I kind of thought was a little bit of a love letter to Sean Combs, whether it was to the judge, whether it was to us in the public. I was kind of curious about where the direction was going, because we did see the video prior to it being shown in court today. So I did get a glimpse of it where I saw bits and pieces of the many accomplishments Sean Combs had. And I think that's one thing that nobody can take away from him, is that he did have incredible accomplishments, such as the record label, the fashion label, the fact that he was starting charter schools in the inner city, the fact that he was trying to raise money, the fact that he was getting more black and brown people in order to vote and do their civic duty, all of that sort. And so I think in terms of just what the video was to show that this is who Sean Combs is, but there were also glimpses of what he's like as a dad. And so there were moments where we saw him and his children together, and this was all of his children, going from his oldest child going to his youngest child, that being his daughter Love. And so we really got to see what it was like for him not to be this quote unquote larger than life person, but really to see what he is like as both him during his career and him as a father. And so it was a very humanizing video. It's about 11 minutes long. It was a very interesting glimpse into his life, kind of post all of the civil litigation, of the federal case, all of that sort. And so some of the even quotes from it was, let's go, and that means to be positive. And so I think that was kind of the theme of this, was just positivity and just how positive Sean Combs has been to certain people's lives during certain moments of his life.
We got to talk about the big moment. This was the moment we were all waiting for. Sean Combs made a statement. Now, he provided a letter to the court in anticipation of this. It seems like what he said maybe echoed a lot of what he wrote in the letter. He talked about his time in the MDC. He talked about he can't change the past.
Obtained images can fracture overnight. The same audiences that once celebrated accomplishments begin reevaluating everything they thought they knew. And perhaps that's what makes these situations so unsettling. Not simply the allegations themselves, but the reminder that public personas reveal only fragments of reality. People see interviews, award speeches, photographs, performances. They rarely witness private environments where entirely different dynamics may exist. Again, none of this establishes guilt, but it does emphasize caution against assumptions based solely on celebrity. Because fame isn't character. Success isn't morality. Influence isn't innocence. Those distinctions matter. As discussions surrounding this latest case continue, experts across legal, psychological, and cultural fields are weighing in on broader implications. Some point towards systemic failures. Others
Agents where the agents A accepted the plaintiff, a vulnerable minor, as a client, B held themselves out as having superior knowledge of the entertainment industry, C undertook to advise, guide, and promote plaintiff's career, D controlled or substantially influenced the industry events and professional functions that the plaintiff attended, and E communicated opportunities and invitations to the plaintiff, and F received or expected to receive financial benefit from the plaintiff's career, advancement, bookings, relationships, and potential role. And it said the agents further stood in a position of trust and confidence because the plaintiff was a minor and was new to the entertainment industry, lacking the ability to independently evaluate the safety of adult-only or adult-dominated industry events, and reasonably relied on the agents to determine which events were appropriate, safe, and professionally necessary. Plaintiff and his guardian reasonably relied on the agent's superior knowledge, judgment, and access to protect the plaintiff from foreseeable risks associated with unsupervised contact with powerful adult entertainment figures. The agent's undertaking included, but was not limited to, a duty to exercise reasonable care before sending plaintiff to events, to vet the event, host, sponsors, attendees, and purpose, to determine whether minors would be present and supervised, and to determine whether alcohol, drugs, secluded rooms, or private meetings with adults would be accessible, to warn the plaintiff and his guardian of known or reasonably known dangers, to accompany plaintiff or arrange for a responsible adult chaperone, to prohibit plaintiff from being isolated with adult attendees, to maintain communication with plaintiff and or his guardian during the event, and to remove the plaintiff from any unsafe or suspicious situations. The agents had exercised substantial control over the plaintiff's professional activities, including his attendance at industry events and interactions with adult industry figures, including the event. The agents decided, approved, transmitted, recommended, and or encouraged the invitation to plaintiff to the events, including the event. The agents had the ability to decline the event on the plaintiff's behalf if they failed to condition the plaintiff's attendance on parental consent and adult supervision. They did not instruct the plaintiff not to attend, not to meet privately, or not to interact with any adult, including defendant Combs, without an agent, guardian, or chaperone present. So they're basically saying they failed to let people know you can't be alone with Diddy. Crazy. So by undertaking to represent plaintiff, a minor performer, and by directing or encouraging him to attend industry functions for professional advancements, the agents created or increased the risk that plaintiff would encounter powerful adult industry figures in settings where plaintiff, because of his age, career dependence, and reliance on his agents, would be vulnerable to manipulation, coercion, exploitation, and abuse. The attack on the plaintiff. At all times relevant in and or around May 2007, so this is a long time ago. This is nearly 20 years ago. Plaintiff was a minor child under the age of 18. In or around May 2007, the agent sent plaintiff an invitation to attend a networking event in the Hollywood Hills in California, aka The Event. Upon arrival, plaintiff checked in at the event and started mingling with other actors, agents, and industry people present. At some time after the plaintiff had been at the event for a little while, plaintiff noticed that defendant Combs, Diddy, was also at the event. When plaintiff first noticed Diddy, he was talking to other actors while Diddy was mingling with other people in the crowd. Shortly thereafter, Diddy made his way over to the plaintiff. Diddy began to make small talk with the victim regarding prior acting events and let me get this fixed here. Prior acting events, and Diddy told the victim that he thought that he would be a good candidate for an upcoming project that he was producing. Diddy told the victim that he wanted to speak to him privately about some potential opportunities that he had in mind for him. Diddy guided him to the back rooms of the event, and Diddy and the victim went into one of the back rooms together. Diddy shut the door to the back room behind them. Once they were in a back room,
emphasize the importance of evidence. Many highlight the emotional complexity experienced by individuals who come forward with allegations involving powerful figures. Fear of retaliation, fear of disbelief, fear of public scrutiny, fear of being defined forever by painful experiences. These fears aren't hypothetical. They shape decisions. They influence timelines. They affect whether people speak at all. At the same time, false accusations carry devastating consequences for those wrongly accused. Reputations can be destroyed, families impacted, careers altered permanently, which is precisely why careful investigation remains essential. Facts, evidence, process, not assumptions, not mob mentality, not blind loyalty. The challenge, however, lies in maintaining balance during moments dominated by emotion. And scandals involving famous individuals generate extraordinary amounts of emotion. Every new development sparks headlines. Every statement fuels speculation. Every rumor spreads at lightning speed. The pressure to choose sides intensifies. Yet truth often unfolds gradually. Piece by piece. Document by document. Only time will reveal the answer. But one thing is certain. The conversation has already begun. And the echoes from this latest horrifying case may continue shaping discussions about accountability, influence, and justice for years to come.